Hello, everybody. Welcome to the other side of the wormhole, the Lost Thoughts of the But Why Though podcast. This is where we talk about all the things that we could not fit in all our episodes. And today, we're talking about episode 21. I don't remember which 20 it was. Wonder Woman. And as always, I'm your host, Matt, from the But Why Though podcast. And I've brought along Kate, who is the creator and I guess, main host of the But Why Though podcast, to then indulge us in the Wonder Woman episode. This episode...
Hi, guys!
As she rudely interrupts me as I'm doing the intro. For all of you, if you haven't watched any of the videos, these will be streamed live on Twitch TV, which means there will be notifications, be some interaction with chat. So if you feel like chiming in, make sure to hit us up on social media with all your questions, comments, anything you felt we missed or got incorrect, and we'll let you know. So if you see us doing anything or whatnot, that's probably what we're doing. And whatnot. So we'll dive right in. Wonder Woman. This was our newest episode that we just released. I don't know when this video will be placed up, but today is June 16th. The episode was released, I believe, June 14th. And so we will be talking about that. We will try not to go to really any spoilers on the movie. We may talk about some of the characters. Not necessarily, I guess, if we go off into like Chris Pine. I'm sorry. I guess I've been fanboying over Chris Pine between the episodes and whatnot. He got robbed, but on his roll. But anyways, we'll try not to spoil anything until maybe at a later time. So we'll jump right in. Wonder Woman, obviously, 76 years ago. We go into the history. Long time. Man. October 1941. Do you have a clue what you were doing or your parents were doing in 1941?
Well, my grandpa was enlisting in the Army, but my mom, he hadn't even met my grandma yet, so none of us were even thoughts at that point.
Not even a thought. Don't worry, I probably wasn't either. That's about how long Wonder Woman's been on. Just so you guys got to get in perspective that the hosts of our podcast were not even thought of when Wonder Woman came along. So then we break down into her history, where she came from. We talk about how she started off as an Amazon, works her way into a demigod. I guess we talk about it a little bit, but I don't remember if you said exactly. What are you doing?
I'm trying to change our title right now.
You couldn't do this beforehand?
I didn't notice it was the same thing. I thought you had changed it.
No, I was trying to fix all the other stuff.
Oh, yeah. No, sorry. I just noticed that it was wrong, so I logged into it on my phone and I was trying to change it. I forgot that it sent me over to, like, the stupid commercial thing first. Get Twitch Prime, guys. It keeps you from having commercials play.
This will be edited out.
Yeah.
Once again, I ran a whole smooth thing, and you get on here, and we have to edit everything. This is why you edit these.
Okay. Well, the title isn't right, and I'm going to stop trying to fix it.
We'll fix it.
Okay. That's what I'm trying to do right now. Wonder Woman.
I apologize for anybody who's out there on Twitchverse watching us. For being a creator of the podcast, she lets a lot of things slip her mind sometimes.
Well, it's your show, so I didn't think I had to change the title.
You always change the title.
Okay.
Actually, no, you don't. I usually do change it.
Yeah,
I
like
will
I don't.
apologize on that part, except for the fact that I was trying to set everything up to make sure that I wasn't staring at, like, a blank screen. And you actually showed up on here.
Yeah. Okay, it's changed. It should be anyway.
Back into the action we go. So we talked about her being an Amazon versus demigod. We mentioned it in we kind of talk about how she progresses through time, as in I say time, but evolution through comics. Do you prefer Amazon versus demigod? What do you got?
That's tough. I prefer Amazon.
Why?
I prefer Amazon because I feel like when she was an Amazon, the way they drew her, and at least like she was powerful, her presence was powerful, And a lot of that was because there was this idea that she was a woman who had trained her entire life with other warriors to be a warrior. And so I think there was an expectation of how she was going to be depicted and shown and the way she was going to do battle. Whereas if you're a demigod, I think that's how Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman can be so small and yet still have the power of, like Ares and all these things, even though she's tiny, is because she's a demigod. I mean, if you're a god, you can be whatever size you want, right? Yeah. So I think the Amazon put more focus on her physical capability and her training that she had while she was on Themyscira. So I like the Amazon more, but I do so the demigod happened in post 2011. So after the New 52 started, I believe Greg Rucka started that run. And I really, really like her sword and shield. I know you don't. And I want to know why.
I'm coming around to it a little bit more.
Okay.
I'm still not the biggest fan of it, but I have been, at least because we had watched the animated shows, the new animated release series that they have, movies that they have going on with the Justice League. I'm not a fan of who they have in there. They definitely kind of modeled it after the movies, but I've become more of a fan of their sword and shield, I guess, from the animated version.
Yeah, no, I think that's my favorite part about her. I mean, I liked the lasso, but I only ever liked the lasso so far as it was in the animated show. Like, I didn't think that would translate well on film. So I like the sword and shield. That, and I like my heroes that kill people. So sorry,
do you
I
know?
do.
I'm gonna have to minimize you real fast because I forgot to do something.
Getting me off your show already.
You know how it goes. But no, the one thing that's funny that I think is very interesting and probably terrible by me, there you are back, is when I think of Amazons, even though they're not even true Amazons, I think of the Karankawa, which was a type of Native Americans who are a huge group of the Spanish were fearful of because they were cannibals. And so in all the stories they were depicted of, they're just terrified. And they're like, oh my gosh. So they would basically capture the Spaniards and all the travelers and Europeans coming over to the land, and they would kill them all except one or two of them, and they would eat them in front of them, and then they'd send these two people back saying, do not come back.
That is so awesome.
By the way, I want to interrupt a little bit just before you go on. And thank you, Yao FM for the follow. If you're enjoying thing, but now you can go, Kate.
Yeah, thank you for the follow, Wifo.
Yeah.
FM?
Yeah. Not sure exactly how to pronounce it. Sorry if I'm incorrect, but yeah.
That's actually really cool. I did not know that. I knew that the Apache used to capture people, and kill a lot, and, kind of retell the stories. I mean, that happened a lot in the unincorporated West originally.
Right.
But that's kind of like my idea of what Amazons are. Like, growing up, and I have a picture on my Twitter, you should go see it, of when I was little, I dressed up as Xena, and I was really obsessed with Xena. And there's an Amazon storyline in Xena as well. And those Amazons are freaking fierce.
Yes.
They take nothing from no one, and they will just completely wreck you. Those are some of the best fight scenes in Xena, are the Amazon fight scenes. And so for me, when I saw Bruce Timm's Wonder Woman in the original Justice League television show in the early 2000s, that type of ferocity is what I expected. And so with that, and this might just be my own casting, my mom's Wonder Woman was super, super feminine. My Wonder Woman, not that, being strong can also be feminine, but I wanted my Wonder Woman to look strong when she beat the crap out of people. And I don't think that has to be detached from being feminine at all. So I want I would totally be down with Themyscira eating some guys from Man's World.
Yes, I mean that's when I think of my Amazons. That's like, I mean, I know they're not Amazons and whatnot, and it's a long time, but that's what I always, the number one image I come up to. And it's not even like I said, as much as they were cannibals, it's just the way they were described in the literature and these thing of like, they were like these huge, they're like 7 tall, like monster type thing coming out, when obviously they're probably not as big, but just the way they described them from a new world. And that's the way I think of, because obviously they live on a mythical island that's in the middle of the ocean. Yeah. So they're coming to a new world.
Yeah, no, so, that's really interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so like the demigod thing, I like that she has the powers, kind of, and I'm more a fan of that. But I guess I didn't like the whole. I'm a big fan of Greek, I guess, mythology and whatnot, but I don't like how they intertwine her, I guess, in there. I like that she's. I guess I'd rather her have a little separate. How they tried to mix her in there, where now she fights like, I guess she's like what, the sister of Ares or sister of Ares or something like that.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, like
the family tree changes. Yeah. Technically, she's Ares' sister because of Zeus, but then Ares kidnaps her sister Nubia in the comics.
Which then that would make them what? He kidnapped technically his own sister? Or I thought that was his daughter.
Yeah. Though. But then again, Greek mythology, there was a whole bunch of incest going around.
This is true, which is why they can get away with a lot of this stuff. But
exactly, like the family origins in Greek mythology is really freaking out there, and none of it makes sense. Like once you actually start drawing the line between like the tiers of gods, who's who they're connected with, whose demigod is whose, like you just realize it's just all everywhere. That's all that is.
Yeah, I think that's why, because I enjoy it, and then it's like, can I get some? I've been a fan of Apollo. Maybe I just like playing Smite and like music, but I'm like, can we get some of that in there? What about Hercules? Does he come in there? And then
Hercules is there actually.
Well, yeah, but I don't know how big of he is in there.
No, he's really big originally.
So the real question is then, because you talked about Xena, which I thought was part of almost like not necessarily a spin-off, but a branch off from Hercules series TV show.
It is a spin-off, yeah.
So basically, where does Xena come in there? Is she now going to fight Wonder Woman? Do they fight side by side in this?
Holy shit! I would love to see Xena and Wonder Woman fight.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, are they fighting with each other? Are they fighting against each other? Are they even the same realm?
I see it. So, like, I could see them fighting against each other, and then Diana's like, you know what? You're really cool. Let's fight together against the patriarchy. And then they both go do that. And then I'm totally fine with that. But Wonder Woman would kick Xena's ass, and I love Xena so much. But, I mean, Xena's a warrior princess. She grew up in the heat of battle. These are words for the intro, by the way, to the show.
Xena is frowned upon now. She's frowning upon you.
But Diana has trained for fight since birth. Depending what version you go with.
Princess?
So
is she a princess?
Yeah, no, Diana's a princess.
But is she a
Diana's
warrior
an Amazon
princess?
Technically, they'd both be warrior princesses.
Is she called a warrior princess?
No, just an Amazon princess. Xena's badass, but I do think Wonder Woman would take her in a fight. So,
as we got chat coming in saying Black Widow over Wonder Woman.
No.
I would take Scarlett Johansson over Gal Gadot. But
I would too, but that still doesn't know. But like, so.
But okay, so I guess I don't understand, because obviously I brought that up.
No.
So how does Xena play into Hercules, even in the show, versus the branches off, versus even how we even get to her even related in the realm of demigods or Greek mythology in general?
So essentially, the way historically how this has gone is Greek religion, Roman religion is entwined with what people do in their everyday life. So there was this belief that the gods were in your home, they were at your work, they were doing everything. So they were on the ground with you in everything that you did. It was a very physical sense of what the gods were versus a bearded man in the sky. It was the thought that you could be walking through the market and Ares could be right there. And so with Hercules, he starts off obviously the son of Zeus.
So I'm gonna have to interrupt you for 1 second though.
Yeah.
So is Ares actually a demigod, or is he the god? Because he's
Ares
obviously
is a god.
So he's called
Ares
the god
is
of war, but then we're looking
Yes.
at demigods who can walk among people. So Ares walking among people. So
Gods can walk. No, gods can walk among people too.
Okay.
In Greek, in Greek and Roman mythology,
Well, because you had brought up the whole like, oh, well, this guy sitting in the clouds with a beard, which I'm assuming you're referring to Zeus.
Well, no. I meant like the idea of a Christian god with God hanging up in the clouds doing his own thing in heaven.
Zeus usually sits in crowds with the light bulb or light.
Zeus very much came down into the ground and had a lot of relations with a lot of women and had a lot of demigod children.
Well, he got tired of all those other gods up in the sky. So
exactly, poor Hera. But no, gods were a fixture on Earth. It wasn't the demigods. The demigods is what happens after the god is on Earth and has sex with a either female or male human.
Right.
But the gods lived among you, and that's how you get demigods.
Okay. So
Ares is a god, but Ares can walk around in the market with you and mess some things up. It's different.
It's awesome.
It is awesome. That's also like why people were like, "Oh no, the sky is falling. A god is doing this," and then they sacrificed like 10 people. But whatever. But Xena fits into it in so much as her power in war. So Xena was a really feared warlord for a really long time, and she ends up kind of changing and realized what she was doing was wrong. And because of her power in battle, Ares takes an interest in her.
Okay.
And so there's always this conflict between her and Ares. Either it's romantic conflict, physical conflict. They're always intertwined, and that's kind of how that spotlight gets cast in her. And throughout the series, Hercules will come and ask for her help, or she'll go find Hercules' help and stuff like that. Whereas Hercules is a demigod, that's why he's interacting with the gods. Xena is a person whose qualities in life have made the gods look upon her, which is also really common in Greek mythology.
Right, obviously.
Yeah.
So. And
how this fits into Wonder Woman is because Hercules in the comics enslaved the entire island at the Mascara, and then they overthrew him, and that is how they got freed.
Was it Kevin Sorbo, Hercules?
Oh, I don't know.
Which, looking back with the Kevin, I'm a fan of Kevin Sorbo, but knowing who Kevin Sorbo is, it's kind of weird thinking of him being Hercules.
Yeah. Well, Kevin Sorbo is also in the Supergirl TV show for like a hot minute.
For a hot minute.
Yeah.
Got it. So obviously we work our way through this episode. We talk about, they go to the Nazi secretary, and how she got her whole start and whatnot. I guess the main thing I'm not a fan of, I think I kind of mentioned a little bit of it in the show. I'm not a fan of the comics when they start bringing it against Germany. Not that, obviously World War II, but that just seems to be a common, thread. Let's just say we're going to go fight Nazis, and that's, all they seem to do. And obviously that's what happens with quite a bit of them, but I'm not a fan of it.
Well, that's because I can see how that means something now. I don't want to see another Captain America movie. I just saw a Band of Brothers and all these other World War II movies. But back then, these started at the height of U.S. involvement in World War II, and all of them were used at propaganda. So the majority of the characters that come out in the late 30s, early 40s are going to reflect that World War II thing, because that was actually what was happening at the time.
See, but even characters that come out today, I'm just not even a fan if they're we're gonna go fight in the desert in Afghanistan and the Middle East and other types. I'm just it's not even I know Iron Man, the original one, they kind of updated the series to do in the Middle East, and then obviously with Wonder Woman, movie, I feel like they did the whole demigod thing so she could survive to, I guess, current times from the middle.
Yeah, well, see, and the Wonder Woman movie is different, too, because Wonder Woman has no involvement with World War I in comic book continuity. And the movie itself takes place at the very end of World War One, which is
Right.
separated from World War II by quite a
Well,
few
I mean,
years.
I guess I know it's probably 2 different wars. I get it, but they still use
It is. They're not Nazis at that point.
Well, I know, but they're getting ready. So we have in chat Black Widow movie during World War II sold. Well,
I'd be down with it if she was paired with Captain America, because that's the OTP right there. I don't care what anybody says.
Like, even Captain America, they had to have him last to basically 2017, what it is now, so they basically threw him in the bottom of the ocean to freeze.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but that's what happens. Like that.
Well, I know that's what happens and what they do, but it's kind of like that's a way for them to like update and keep them going, because obviously.
Yeah. It's a way. How can we take this really old ass character from the 40s and make them come into this new world? And everybody loves the whole like innocent deer in the headlights. Oh my God, what's a radio?
Yeah. Well,
oh my God, a computer? Are you talking into a square? Everybody loves that shit. They eat it up. So,
which is funny because I don't think you need to have somebody frozen in ice. I think it happens in everyday life. They stay still.
I think I do it every now and then.
Black Widow don't need the male superhero help. Which I think the funny thing about the Marvel universe, at least, since I know we're talking about DC, but that Black Widow, at least from my understanding in the comics and whatnot, was a super spy, and they don't seem to portray that at all. Like, she seemed to not only be almost like an anti-hero more than a hero, at least from my understanding.
Yeah, well, she was an anti-hero.
But the way that MCU portrays her, she is complete hero.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I think they tried to complicate her character a little bit, but I don't think they do it enough as they do in the comics. And I know also in the comics, she's very much a background character.
Right.
For a lot of her runs. I honestly think Marvel has very few female superheroes, and they're like, who can we bring into the Avengers? Okay, cool, Black Widow. Here you go.
Compared to DC or just in general?
Compared to DC. I think compared to DC. And when I say that, I mean like solo characters with their own series and original runs.
Okay.
So like if you look at Wonder Woman starting in the 40s, she's the first with her first solo run, and she also does her turnaround time in coming off of Action Comics into Sensation Comics, and Sensation Comics is her very first comic book, which is her own comic book. That's an 8-month turnaround period, and you hadn't seen that happen before from other characters that were introduced in other genres and in other comic book series. So you don't really have that happen with the Marvel female characters until you start moving into the modern age.
Okay.
So Wonder Woman was really different when it came to that. A lot of the females in Marvel have been packaged into teams. Mm-hmm. It's changing now, but yeah.
Changing, yeah, because I guess we're talking teams, and I guess obviously the only way I've ever really known Wonder Woman is part of the Justice League. I knew she was solo, but I never really paid attention, to be honest.
I didn't either before this episode, honestly. It was pretty much animated universe. That was my Wonder Woman. And then I started reading and I got pretty hyped, especially because she steals a woman's identity. And I kind of like that.
Yeah, I know we bring that up when we talk about it. It still amazes me that I guess that all happened.
Black Widow don't need no money.
I don't know if anybody does anybody even flinch or blink an eye on that?
No.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go take this person's identity here, have
Pretty
a little
much.
bit of cash, go to South America or South Africa.
Yeah.
Excuse me, South Africa or South America. I don't remember which one.
South America.
South America, yeah, that's what that.
Yeah.
Just take it. Who cares?
Yeah, and it's funny too because this is after she comes
how
with
much
the
do you think she
mascara.
offered him? So can I try this now? That's what we doing?
Well, she offered her, I think it was 2 years worth of an actress salary. I don't know what that is.
I went to college. I got student loans. How much can I pay to find somebody that does not have
to take her identity?
Take their identity for a few years.
If you're listening right now,
we got to come up with new ideas. Got to break the system here. Wonder Woman it up. Which I guess is weird that they
feel an identity.
Yeah. I guess it's weird. I guess obviously I want to say as much as that's probably weird and they don't think about it, I'm sure they kind of did it at least somewhat to try to play on her name at least in some way.
I honestly have no idea.
Because, I mean, when her name was on Themyscira was Diana, correct?
I don't remember if they actually bring up the name in Golden Age.
Don't know. I guess that's true. I don't know. I guess
Yeah.
obviously obviously since I was in the 70s and whatnot, so the only time I knew her name was always Diana.
Yeah, no.
So I
So this,
assume that's like how she got whatnot.
yeah, so like this entire idea of her getting the name Diana Prince comes from the Golden Age comic books and her stealing someone's identity.
Right. Well, I knew the last name. You obviously used Prince. We can take her from stolen identity or the fact that
Yeah.
she was a princess, but like the fact that her first name Diana was where
Yeah, I
was
have no
going.
idea. Like the only way that
So what did they
I
call
mean,
her on Themyscira?
I have no clue.
Hey, you little girl. Hey,
They probably just
demigod.
called her Princess
Hey, Amazon.
or Your Highness. She was
Hey.
royalty. Like I don't really think she needed a name. Do you need a name when you're royalty? Do you call the queen? Do you know the queen's name?
She don't need no name.
Exactly.
Yeah, but we're talking about a princess, not the queen. You don't talk bad about the queen. You cannot speak the queen's name. Thou shall be her who speak the queen's name. Okay, so moving on. We kind of get to upgrade. We move everything else. Obviously, we go into Linda Carter's Wonder Woman. But right before that, I guess, we're not going to bring up so much movies, but anybody that went to the Draft House, at least to see, if you don't know what Draft House is familiar, I think it originated, called Alamo Draft House, originated, I believe, in Texas, if I'm correct.
Yes.
And basically what you could do, I'm sure there's other types of ones that you can do, but basically you can eat and drink and have your own table and whatnot.
No kids.
Yeah, well, no kids.
That's my favorite part.
Yeah, they're branching off a little bit into that. But they played these crummy pilots of Wonder Woman. And if anybody has a chance, just go to Google, YouTube, and just type in Wonder Woman failed pilot. And some of these things are some of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. The spy, I know we touched on it a little bit, but like the spy one, like why is she a spy? Like what is she wearing? The other one, the creepy one, she just stares.
And she's a blonde spy.
Yeah, she stares into a mirror that one time, which was very.
She just stares and then the blonde spy like goes like this on the wall like 10 different times.
She was memeing it up.
And then
she was a mime.
It was
just
a memeing mime.
Yes. Well, she'd become a meme with all that mime action. That's how it works. But I just the Linda Carter thing. The funny thing is like how bad those were. Because, I mean, Linda Carter's great, but some of the stuff is kind of cheesy. I mean, it's great for what the time period and great for what it is, but still, just like how bad those were to not get picked up is terrible.
Well, I mean, and we're throwing a lot of heat at the old ones, but the 2011 Adrian Pedlicki Wonder Woman pilot didn't get picked up, and a lot of it was because her costume looked like it came out of a friggin' Halloween store. The thing was bad. It was really bad, like that shiny plastic Halloween costume look. That's what it was. So, like, Wonder Woman doesn't have anything good after Linda Carter until pretty much Patty Jenkins' movie.
So is it kind of like one of the Walmart
earlier.
versions of the Inhumans promo?
Yes, it is. It's actually worse than that. I didn't know it was
got
possible,
worse than that. Is that plausible?
Yeah. I didn't know it was, but it definitely
2011, 5 years ago, different times. We'll go with that.
Yeah, I guess.
Terrible. But the Bionic, I say Bionic. She predates Bionic Woman. I read that in the notes. But
yeah.
We have the technology. We will build you. Hopefully, probably less than $6 million if that's how much we spent on the Bionic Man. But,
yeah.
But
73 cents to the dollar.
Yeah, that's still like almost 4 million, 4.5 million. I mean, you can probably do a little bit. You can still do a lot with that.
Why can you only jump 50 feet? Well, they didn't pay me as much.
Yeah. But in this episode, if you have not listened to it, and I recommend you do, it's episode 21, Wonder Woman, but why that matters, is the mom thing and listening to people's moms. I guess yours, we had your mom on there, we had Adrian's mom on there, we had some quotes, from our editor Asa Big Mountain, who's actually on tour with his band. We'd hope to get some photos up, hopefully by the time you hear this, and your friend's mom as well that you had known. And
yes, Judy Floyd.
Judy Floyd.
Shout out to Judy Floyd.
Judy Floyd. And that was definitely really, I guess, heartfelt and touching, and I guess how much inspirational. And I guess it was also cool, at least for me, because if one thing, you hear that from, obviously they all kind of said the same thing along the same lines, like this meant that. But I guess the time frame of the time gap. 1975, when Winona Carter came out, and even Adrian's mom, obviously, she watched it in syndication, but even then, it's still like 80, 85 or whatnot.
Yeah.
That's over 30, that's like 40 years ago, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Almost now. And to think about it, that 50 years that show sticks out to you and everything is, I think, pretty amazing. For the time, just for the longevity of how much it stands. Not only for a character, but just for an actual TV show. I don't know even if you could possibly name, I'm sure that you can because you watch a lot more TV shows than I do. But I mean, can you think of a show right now that you can think of when you're like 45 years from now that you're like, this show was so inspirational to me?
Inspirational?
I mean, basically what they said it like gave them, I mean, it was inspirational. Yeah. It showed them like what women can do, how to lead, become their own Wonder Woman. Times.
I mean, I honestly don't think I can.
Yeah, I mean,
I think the closest I would get would be like Luke Cage, but even then, it's a completely different reason.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I enjoy all the superhero, I guess sad part, but the main thing, this was actually a superhero show. Yeah. This isn't like a documentary, which I can talk about documentary. It's not a science show that changes things. I mean, it's not a Brian Cox moment where I was in a bar and I realized I'm going to go be a world famous physicist. But like,
yeah, like if you compare to I'm not going to remember Arrow 50 years from now.
Because I might remember it because I have a great memory and I enjoyed the show, but it's not going to be like this was a life-changing thing. Or like I'm going to give an inspirational quote about it or clip.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess unless I'm like become some deranged murderer, which is kind of odd. We're just going to for all you out there, this has not happened, but this is basically, if you've seen Arrow Season 1, that's pretty much about the only aspect you're going to get out of it.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I can say is I know you don't like Supergirl, but I just watched the 2 seasons that are available on Netflix. There are only 2 seasons of the show right now. I just binged those, and I can actually see that being really inspirational to little girls pretty much in the same way. I mean, not for somebody my age, and I think also that has to do with, like, I don't like Supergirl as a character. The show is still really well done, I think. It fits into the Arrowverse really well, and they do a lot with her character that I didn't think they could do. But I can definitely see, like, a little girl, like my mom's age, when she watched Lynda Carter, seeing that and getting inspired. But then again, like, it gets folded into all these other things. Like, it kind of doesn't stand out like Wonder Woman did.
Supergirl movie.
I'm not talking about that crappy movie.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess we're gonna talk about inspiring little girls in this day and age for the time like Wonder Woman. But I mean, out of all,
I would say if they went to go see the new Wonder Woman movie, they'd be more inspired by that than Supergirl.
I mean, that's what's amazing. Like, you can literally go see a movie that's 50 years later, or 2 years later, or whatever, and you're probably more inspiration than any TV show. I mean, even at this point, character than Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking now of all the shows. I mean, there's Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Daredevil. I mean, you have the CW verse, which we talked about with Supergirl, The Flash, Arrow, any of those other Black Canary side. I mean, Black Canary, even though, not with her. There's
Jessica Jones.
Yeah, Jessica Jones, which I don't think that's inspiring anybody to do anything.
I think it is, but just not in the same way Wonder Woman is.
Yeah.
You haven't watched it. You can't say anything.
Yeah, but I also know how she is.
Do you?
Just go listen to the promos.
Uh-huh.
She's not being, really, she's like a cop that just does whatever. Detective.
That's gonna be a whole different episode, but she actually did start a lot of stuff when she first came out, so like the Netflix show itself, when it first came out. There were a lot of like she was used as one of the people for kind of as a way to start the dialogue towards mental health and trauma recovery and stuff like that. So,
right. But that's just.
But it's still really small. Like it's not like a little girl watching. Is it? Like it's not broad appeal.
That part.
Wonder Woman was broad appeal and inspiring versus like niche and inspiring.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say if we start getting too niche inspiring, then I'm kind of, to me, inspiring then starts losing its value.
I guess.
So. So if we keep going a little bit, we talk about, obviously, we get into a little bit of the noob parts, the debates, whatnot, pacifism, which was still, to me, interesting in general.
Yeah,
I still
don't understand it.
I know Adrian obviously was not a fan of this one, or really, I don't know about necessarily saying whether fan or not, but he definitely did not quite understand this one either.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, it was a little confusing. Of like I guess the critique of it versus the not critique and whatnot, which is I don't know.
Yeah, no, it was actually a really confusing topic to kind of unpack because it was on quite a few lists. So I actually wrote the show notes for this episode. And I was trying to find more about it. I just kept seeing so much like she's a pacifist icon. And a lot of that just comes from the fact that her creator wanted her to be able to fight if she needed to, but ultimately she was going to win the day with love and be the silent woman who didn't really ruffle feathers. And that to me is just really shitty. So.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
That's not the one that we grew up with either.
No, it's not. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's funny you said that too. Cause, like, not even the one like you think of this one, which I guess would be based off the New 52 series, and then if we go to the animated version, she wasn't like that. Obviously, she was.
Yeah.
I mean, even the animated one, obviously, I guess they didn't really show so much death and blood and stuff as they do now, but still, they fought and did a lot of things.
Yeah, and she still made comments to Superman telling him that her enemies don't come back. Like,
that's what I'm saying. I don't know how much Linda Carter. I mean, I'm assuming she fought in that one as well. I don't know compared to the other ones, but she didn't seem like a pacifist in that one.
Yeah, because I think for me, like, one of the reasons I loved Wonder Woman was because she was able to do the things those male superheroes weren't. Like, if she needed to kill you to save the 1,000 people, she was going to do it.
Right.
Superman wasn't going to do it. He's going to let everybody die because oh no, I can't take a life.
Except when he goes crazy and starts laser beaming everybody's brain.
Yes. Or if they're an alien. Apparently he can kill aliens. He just can't kill humans. Yeah.
It's probably weird when they do that.
Yeah, it's really weird.
I don't know. So, obviously, we lead into, we talked about pacifist thing. Then, I guess a topic we didn't mention as much, because obviously the time constraints, the money grossing part, which was impressive, whatnot, but, we get through Rotten Tomatoes scores. That's what to me, is more of a whole, like, do we want to talk about, we judging based on money, we judging based on just Rotten Tomatoes means all and whatnot. So I think it's just more of, do you enjoy what you're watching and do you not? At least from my perspective, that's the only DC movie I can even say I can enjoy, let alone sit through. So, yeah. I had something going off of that one, and I can't remember what it was.
Is it the Iron Man thing?
No, not the Iron Man thing. The Iron Man thing does bug me, and I'm not going to lie. The fact that everybody brought up that this movie did so much better than Iron Man 1 blows my mind and kind of very upsets me, and I hate the way, and to me it's just clickbait bullshit, if you want me to say. Because one, without this Iron Man movie being successful, 10 years ago, which if you include inflation, which I'm assuming over a 10-year process, and it only beat it by $2 million at the time, or like 1.8, I think, or something like that. Maybe it was like 2.3. I don't remember exactly whether it was 98 point whatever. Inflation, it should be count for the same. If this Iron Man movie fails, there's none of this.
Yeah, there's not a single movie made after it.
Yeah, there's not an MCU. There's not a DCEU. And there's probably more superhero movies. I'll probably give them that. There'll probably be, maybe there'll probably be reboots of Spider-Man. There might be a Batman movie. There might even be a Superman movie. There's definitely no Wonder Woman movie. There's definitely no cinematic universes.
Yeah, there's no Avengers. There's probably not a Captain America.
There's definitely not Captain America. Between the fact, I don't think there is. I mean, was there a Captain America movie before?
No.
Yeah, I mean, there were some little side things. Between the fact that the expectations of this movie and how much Iron Man 1 succeeded and did so well, based on, like I said, the expectations and what it was, you can't compare the two. Because even like we started bringing up the movie, like, I guess money-wise, Iron Man 3 did almost $40 to $50 million more than Iron Man 1. You going to say Iron Man 3 is a better movie? Not even close. No. And
well, I think... Go ahead.
What?
No, I was going to say, like, the other numbers that came out, which I think are more telling, is not opening weekend, but retention.
Right.
So how do these movies work after the word of mouth has gotten out as to whether or not they suck or not? Because Batman versus Superman had one of the highest drop-offs from opening weekend to the second weekend.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, that was a huge one.
Yeah, and so did Suicide Squad, and Wonder Woman actually maintained, for the most part, that base. Not that base, because obviously, I mean, people probably want to go see it again, but maintained that same level of hype that she had for her opening weekend as she did her second weekend.
Yeah,
and that was
one of the
things
for
that
Iron
was
Man because it was
out.
10 years ago, but I'm pretty sure it did the exact same thing as well.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that points more to as to what, because Iron Man's a good movie.
Yes.
That points to whether or not it's a good movie. After the reviews are out, after everybody's gone home and talked to their friends about it or done podcast reviews on it, do people still come to see it after all that information's out? And I think the fact that Wonder Woman maintained that amount of money her second weekend proves that it is a good movie, and compared to the rest of the DCEU, she's pretty much doing what that picture on the screen is doing and carrying Wonder Woman or Superman and Batman on her back.
Yeah, no, like when it compared to the other movies, I got it and it was fine, it was cool, whatever. I just didn't like the one comparison to Iron Man.
Yeah. That makes sense.
You can say bias or whatnot. Just there was no like way you can compare those two movies. Because, like I said, Iron Man did and what the expectations and how everything was and for you, just not even close to Wonder Woman. And the grand scheme.
No, I agree.
With that. I guess the other thing, what was it else about Iron Man that I was going to say? Because I keep thinking, too, in the back of my head, I'm like, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie still blew Wonder Woman out of the way, and that was back in 2002.
The Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie, as much, like, the third one ruined it for everybody, but that movie is still one of the best.
Yeah, the first one?
Yeah, the first one is
really
still
good. The
one
second
of the
one
best
I actually really
comic book
enjoy.
movies.
I'm also a big Spider-Man fan, which we will be coming, if you end up watching this, a Spider-Man episode will be coming down the line. One, between celebrating Homecoming, and two... So weird saying celebrating Homecoming now. It's not like I'm in high school.
Are we all gonna have little corsages when we record?
I almost said croissants. I wear croissants.
Croissants.
But,
I'll eat some croissants.
Yeah, but no. Yeah, so that one will become. That's in the pipeline eventually. But yeah, those two, at least the first two, definitely the first one, blow Wonder Woman, and that's from 2002. Can you imagine the inflation there? Which is why the whole money thing of when we start talking about monies and numbers with movies, I try to tend to ignore, especially when they start talking about record breaking. Because every year it's like, we broke a record. Well, yeah, because inflation is so insane. Like, I think, at least from the last thing I read, I think $1 from 1985 or is it 75 alone just to now is worth $16 now, just in inflation wise.
Yeah.
So you take 100 million from now and translate that back to 1975. I mean, you're looking, if 100 million in 1975 was what, 100 or shoot, what would that be, like almost 116 million, or not 160 million, like a 1.6 billion dollars almost, or something like that. I think off the top of my head, how many zeros, but yeah, like the inflation rate is crazy.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's why we need to look at these other factors. We need to look at like actual critic score, actual fan reception, and then
to me, at least for superhero movies, I prefer fan reception a little more than I do critic movies, just because I think I obviously wasn't on the Oscar episode that we had done, which is another bullshit corner if anybody cares to listen about the Oscars, what they talk about. I'm not a fan of the Oscars, and it's because the stuff that takes the Oscars, which are critically acclaimed, usually are movies that 75% of the population have never seen.
Yeah.
And to me, I get the whole point of these are great movies, artistic or whatever they want to use to categorize this. But if you're a superhero movie, if you're a comedy, if
you're a
horror movie, if you have apparently too much language or blood, you're automatically dropped no matter how great your plot is or anything.
Yeah.
And to me, and plus it's hard for me to say this is the picture of the year when polls and research show that at least 60% of the population kind of give. I think the last one when I looked at the general for this past Oscars, I think the poll of like 250,000 people was like 75%. But I'm sure if you downplay it up, at least 60%, even 50-60% of these movies, nobody is seen. I just can't buy that you're telling me this is the best movie of the year, which it might be, but what? Because some bunch of fancy people told me this was when nobody's freaking
fancy people.
What? So basically it's a bunch of elite people that sit around and like, I did my everything and I clap myself on the back. This is the best movie ever, even though 100 people, even though besides people in the audience, nobody else even knows what this damn movie is, and that bugs me. I'm not saying these superhero movies are way better and we should go off the money totals, because there's a lot of things of, superhero movies are right now, especially this day and age, are just selling. Yeah. But we should definitely take into account, if nobody's watching this damn movie and they don't make any money, I'm not saying they're bad, but you can't tell me they're the best if nobody knows.
Yeah.
We're the best podcast ever. But guess what? Maybe only like 1,000 people have ever heard of us, which means in the grand scheme of things, there's about like 6 billion people or 5.9 billion and however many that haven't heard of us to say that we're not because they've never heard of us. But that's kind of like how we judge the Oscars. Like, oh, well, we're the elite, though, so we're the best 1,000 people. So we say this is right, even though the other 5.9 billion never even heard this.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I agree with you. I just also think, too, I do know that at least, like, a lot of the movies I have seen that have won, not all of them, obviously.
Right.
But a lot of them have been better than a lot of the stuff that
I can agree. Years. And I mean, some of the ones that I have seen have been great movies, and it's unfair to say that these movies don't deserve this. But to me, it's kind of one of those, when I watch the Oscars,
people who are betting on them, they're self-selecting. They're the people that can afford to go to Cannes, and the people that can afford to go to like all these other like niche little areas where they do the film festivals to vote, which doesn't mean they're not great movies. Like Moonlight was fucking awesome. But it does mean that, like, if you actually open it up, I agree with you. Like, the best movie of the year should be the best movie that everybody went to go see or didn't see. Like, pool the entire people. And if you have, 250,000 people,
it's basic science.
That say,
you need a sample size. Your sample size is awful.
Yeah.
You can't tell me it's the best thing if your sample size is not great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the other reason why they ran into the problems with, like, the whole, like, you're pretty much nominating the same actor year after year, or you're nominating the same actors that pretty much look exactly like each other, or they're doppelgangers. It's because it's, like, the same people who have been in this industry for 50, 60 years voting on the movies. And so it limits opportunities for new films to actually get in. Whether they're big budget or low budget, that door doesn't open.
Yeah, like the budget thing to me, that's fine. I've watched low budget films. Obviously, people out there may not know this. I am one of the biggest fans. You know, at this point, I can say I'm the biggest because sample size of 1 or 2. Basically, these I will say B, but they're probably more like C-rated post-apocalypse movie. Netflix used to have a ton. I don't know how many they have anymore because I've watched them and got rid of them. Give me a movie with some crappy science that they're going to use some nitrogen and some balloons to blow up that and recreate the ozone, and I'm in there. I'm going to watch it. Watch the giant iceberg break from Antarctica and cover North America. I'm there. Watch it all day long. Don't care. But obviously they're terrible movies. But you know what? Maybe they're Oscar worthy. I don't know. Maybe I could say I'm great. I know Oscar movies. I don't know. So we're pretty much in. I don't know what else you felt we should have missed or you need to correct for this episode.
Yeah, so I need to correct one point. So when I'm talking about the influence in the 70s, so the ERA is in Congress to be passed in the 70s. However, it is passed. I said it wasn't passed. It is passed. But the next stage after a law is passed. Sorry. It has to be ratified by the states, and it was not ratified by enough states to actually become to hold people accountable. So the Equal Rights Amendment stalls out at the ratification stage versus the pass or not pass. So it passes, and then it's not ratified, made concrete by the states because they're assholes.
Are you trying to bring up Schoolhouse Rock on how a bill becomes a law?
Just a bill. Yeah.
Can we just play that for a while? Oh, okay. Anything else that you felt that we did for this episode? What was your thoughts overall on this episode?
I liked it.
Okay. I would hope so since you wrote the show notes. But
my thoughts for this episode was I was a beginner Wonder Woman fan. Didn't know anything outside animation, and then we went to go see the movie opening night, and then I got really hyped and I started doing all the research for her, and I was like, oh wow, she's actually really badass, and I need to look more into her. I need to read more comics. So I only read some of the badass comics from right before New 52's run, some Greg Rucka, and now I'm like, I need more Wonder Woman in my life because she's actually really awesome, and she's the most notable female superhero. So
all I'm going to say is I can hear everything you said. I'm just hoping that this turns out well because you had kind of froze a little bit in space.
Oh.
Video camera. So hopefully.
That's not good.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah. I mean, I unfortunately, still not the biggest Wonder Woman fan. I enjoyed the movie. Maybe it's just not my cup of tea. I'm still not, I know. That's what it was. That's what I was remembering. The thing about the Iron Man movie, what bugs me too. Wonder Woman, she's part of the holy trinity of the DC universe. We have Superman, yes. Batman, Wonder Woman, the big three.
Yes.
You only beat Iron Man, who's maybe a second tier Marvel character, by 2 million, and you want to bang? You are pretty much one of the top 3 holy trinity of DC universe.
So who are the top 3 for Marvel then?
I know Spider-Man is up there for one.
Who else?
Thinking off characters off the top of my head, I couldn't even tell you when it comes to movie verse. I mean, Iron Man's probably kind of up there compared to some of the other ones. But I know, I guess when I was thinking more too is they're like, oh, beat Captain America and Thor. I mean, Thor is obviously a second rate. I mean,
Thor is second rate.
Yeah, Captain America's almost 2 point, not really, almost a 1.5, like a 1B.
So here's the thing. I actually looked a lot of this up, when we first had this conversation on the side.
Cool.
DC has had their heroes established as their core for a really long time.
Yes.
Marvel has not.
Yeah, I guess that's also why I'm trying to think too.
That's why I asked, because Marvel has so many different super teams and so many different heroes that one age's run of main heroes doesn't stick into the second age. So gold doesn't go into bronze or into silver. Silver doesn't go into bronze. Bronze doesn't go into modern. And I think that messes with these ideas of who is part of the main. I think if you actually look at the main overall, I think Iron Man is now up there if you look at the
Well, I
movie
mean,
verse.
obviously now if we look
But
at
coming
this,
out from comics,
no.
it would like I think the closest you would get is like Jack Kirby. It would be the Jack Kirby Stan Lee run. So it'd be like Fantastic Four,
Right.
Captain America, Spider-Man, and that would be about it.
Yeah, that's what I guess. I probably shouldn't use a thing of like tier wise versus that. Then is more of like established would be a better word than term. Because I guess that's what I was thinking the whole thing. Because like Iron Man, I knew because the Fantastic Four for comics is actually more popular than a lot of them. And
Fantastic Four was the first family of Marvel.
Yeah, the worst movies ever made. Well, maybe not the very first one.
Not the first one. The second one was
very disappointing. And then we don't even count the last one. Whatever disaster, Sony should have just like buried their head in the sand and just sold it and finally give it up. But, well, actually, I was even thinking the X-Men are actually probably even more up there above even.
Well, they are. Like I was talking about, like if you look at like teams, actually, you would have, if you count all teams, you would have Captain America, X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man. That would pretty much be your group right there.
Right.
And so within the teams, you can be like, okay, Cyborg, or not Cyborg, what did I say? Cyborg. Cyclops, Jean Grey, Beast, Wolverine. Those are your main people.
Right.
But I think when you go out into DC, I think they very much focus on singular heroes, whereas I think Marvel went more for the teams.
All I know is anybody watching this is going to have fun watching you speak in slow motion.
Oh, I'm watching it on Twitch. It doesn't look bad.
Okay, that's fine. As long as it is, I know my camera, you're frame, you're freezing on mine. So.
Okay.
Well, it's fine. I mean, so now that I kind of went off track on that, was there anything else you really wanted about this episode? You told me you got a great episode. You enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoyed it too. Obviously, I enjoyed the movie. Like I said, still probably not my cup of tea. I'm not that excited for Justice League. I'll gladly go watch the other DC comic or cartoon movies, but
I'm excited for Aquaman.
I mean, it's sad when they made
Aquaman
look cool.
Yeah. Granted, the new animated movies made him look cool too.
I don't care. I'm still a fan of Hook Aquaman, but
yeah, that is true.
I liked Hook Aquaman.
No, I think Wonder Woman
I just shake my head
much...
because I don't like how badly they messed up the freaking thing. At least, I guess, to me, as you just said, Marvel is one thing with changing their entire teams. Now, all of a sudden, Falcon's a freaking member and whatnot, which he had never been a member before. But, you know, Falcon looks pretty cool, and I like what they did. At least they made his costume look 10 times better than it did in the comics.
Yeah.
Yeah, but... You know, and like I said, they've had different teams and whatnot, and at least, and also I guess the fact that Marvel's had a deal with Sony and like licensing rights and everything else. As far as I know, DC is not, if I'm correct.
Yeah. So as far as that goes, I'm actually surprised that Marvel has been able to have this much of a stronghold in the MCU when they're fighting for so many of their characters.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They don't have the X-Men. They don't have the Fantastic Four, who Reed Richards plays a huge part in Civil War in the comics.
Yeah.
And the X-Men obviously play a huge part in the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't even have those, and they still made it turn out great. And DC's had everything. They've had all of their characters.
Warner Brothers has owned DC for a really long time now, and
DC, whatever.
Yeah, and instead of Warner Brothers actually consolidating it, they piece it out to like so many different television stations and people to do the stuff, and it just ends up being there's so much discontinuity that it's hard to actually build an established universe. Whereas Marvel has at least taken stock, and you know what, we own these characters. Yep. We're gonna try and make them the best at what they are.
Yeah, like I said, obviously I know it doesn't follow straight to the comics and they've adjusted, but I've been fine because I know their limitations of what they own and don't own. Warner Brothers, DC, whichever one you want to say, I guess the father company or mother company versus whatever. They have no excuse, and I just have a problem with like where they're going with what they're doing now. Cyborg, get the hell out of there. Give me some John Stewart Green Lantern. I mean, even the new ones, even the new 52s, at least they have in the cartoons, they have at least Hal Jordan in there.
Yeah.
Martian Manhunter, I guess, doesn't exist anymore. He had a nice they spent $1 million budget on Supergirl for have a cameo, and then he's done.
He doesn't have a cameo. He's actually in there the entire seasons.
He's in both seasons?
Yes.
Okay, well, cool.
He's one of the main characters.
Awesome. I guess that's cool, but you forgot about Justice League. Hawk Girl, I guess you just stay on your own planet with your own...
No, she's in the Arrowverse now.
That doesn't count. That doesn't mean anything. We have 2 different Flashes.
Yeah,
Like,
that's probably the worst.
I don't understand those... I'm starting to get a headache now thinking about this.
And then Gotham, like, we're just going to throw in a completely different continuity there for, like...
I don't acknowledge Gotham.
I love Gotham. Fish Mooney is awesome.
It's a police show that happens to use Batman and some villains from him.
It is, and it's awesome. And I love police shows.
Yeah, that's about it.
You haven't watched it.
You know what?
So
That
you can't say
reminds me?
anything.
That's about as bad as you saying I love Rogue One. It was basically a crime heist movie. They slapped Star Wars on it, and I love it.
I don't care. It was good. If it's good, I'm going to like it. I don't care what it is. If it's good, I'm going to like it. That's it.
For everybody out there, if they slap Star Wars on it, she's going to buy it.
No.
50-50.
No.
But anyways.
If it's good, I'm going to like it.
Mm-hmm. Anyways. Anything else you have before we just wrap this one up here?
No.
No, don't sound so sad. Why are you sounding so sad now?
I don't know.
Over. Anyways. Okay, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. I'll let you, can you tell us where we find you at before I...
Yes, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at ohmymithrandir. And then you can find me on Twitch, streaming on my own channel, usually on the weekends. Been slacking a little bit because work's been crazy at twitch.tv/ohmymithrandir. And if you're wondering, Mithrandir is the Gondor name for Gandalf. So, yeah.
You're Gandalf.
It means Grey Wanderer.
You're a wanderer. I don't know about Grey. I don't know if that's a good wanderer either. You have some old people. I'm lost. Wanderer in you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And if you had any doubt that we were a couple, there you go.
Anyways, you can find me on Twitter at datm18, DATTM18. Obviously, this is the other side of the wormhole, the lost thoughts of the But Why Though podcast, basically what didn't make it in the episode for the But Why Though podcast, which can be found on iTunes. Please rate, review, and subscribe to us. And also Google Play, Stitcher. I like the name TuneIn. I will continue to say this as I will figure out one day what TuneIn is. And pretty much any app you can think of, you can find a listener. You can also come to our website at butwhythopodcast.com to check out all our episodes. To watch these, if you happen to miss the other side or just joined in late, the full episodes and all the rest of the episodes of the other side of the wormhole are found on our YouTube channel at butwhythopc or butwhythopodcast, and our website at butwhythopodcast.com. You can find, if you want to interact or intervene or have questions, want some corrections or thoughts, you can find or message us on any of our social media networks, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at ButWhyThoughPC. If not, I think that is it for the Wonder Woman episode 21. Feel free to check it out. Hopefully you guys all enjoy it. Go check out the movie. We should be releasing a recap sometime soon, depending on when you watch this and this is released. It should either be out or on its way. Also, feel free to check out any of the other either Wormhole or podcast episodes. Thank you and have a great night. Bye-bye.
Bye.